Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out last week. It's in its second weekend now. We're going into its third weekend this weekend, but it's done pretty well at the box office. And I think it was around 40 million or 50 million opening weekend in the US, 35 million the weekend gone by. Internationally, it's doing pretty well. Directed by Jason Reitman, his father. Ivan Reitman directed the first two in the franchise, the original 1984 and 1997. So this has a lot of buzz around it, and especially after the 2016 female version that came out, which was a bit of a disaster. It made money, but hardcore fans seem to hate it big time. Casey, what's your relationship with the Ghostbusters franchise? Have you seen the originals? Did you watch the female one? Or are you looking forward to this one?
I haven't seen any of the Ghostbusters, and I haven't seen them growing up either, so I had no connection to it. And when the 2016 one came out, I haven't watched that because it looked like shit. I'm sorry, but the trailers or nothing just interested me at all, and so I didn't check it out then. But this trailer looks good, and I'm glad people are really enjoying it. I know some of my friends are really hardcore Ghostbusters fans and they loved this movie, so that's all that matters, right? Because movies like these are very a part of people's growing up, their childhood and stuff. So fans loving it is what should matter the most to them. So it seems like that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I'm not a huge Ghostbusters fan either. I'm not like die hard. I don't get annoyed by the movies, but yeah, I've watched the original ones and they're pretty good comedies. Bill Murray's in them. Like these great actors that were on Saturday Night Live, great comedians. And yeah, it was a big hit, the two movies, and it had such a huge impact on people. And it's weird how a third movie never happened. But you know, Bill Murray and Harold Ramis had a bit of a falling out. Like Harold Ramis was a very good director as well, and he co-wrote the original Ghostbusters with Dan Aykroyd. And Harold Ramis played the Ghostbuster Egon. But him and Bill Murray after Groundhog Day had a falling out and didn't talk for like 20 years. That's a big reason why a third film was never made. I think him and Bill Murray they made up just before he passed away, which was nice. But like that's the main reason why we never ever got a third movie, which was a shame. And then the 2016 one came out, and that was a disaster. People absolutely hated that one. I remember watching it when it dropped like on our TV channels here. I was like, "What is this? This is just really bad." And I'm never a fan of kind of remaking something with an all female cast, like changing the genders and stuff like that. Nothing against the females. It doesn't seem right when you could just bring back the original crew, or you could implement women into the story very much like a Ghostbusters Afterlife did in a very, very good way. And I'm not a big fan of the, Melissa McCarthy, those kind of actors in the
Yeah.
2016 version. I like Kirsten Wiig in some things, but sometimes the comedy is just doesn't sit right with me whatsoever. So I never enjoyed that film whatsoever, and it kind of killed the franchise for a little bit in a certain way. And I always felt bad for the diehard Ghostbusters fan
The critics
that they
loved
had to
that movie
go.
though.
Critics love that one and they hate this
They
one.
had to
I
love
actually
that
want to,
one.
yeah. At the time, with everything that was going on, I kind of had to, but I have a bone to pick with that, which I'm kind of annoyed at, which I'll talk about after the review. But yeah, this one, I think it's been delayed 4 times, which is a bit ridiculous with all the pandemic and stuff like that. But that's nobody's fault. And I was very interested in this because the trailers were pretty good and the teasers were pretty good, and it kind of had that homage feeling to it to the original. I'm not familiar. Just people don't get angry at me. I'm not familiar with all the terms and the car name and the weapons and stuff like that. I'm not a diehard fan like that, but I'm aware of what they look like, and I understand when something's Easter egg or that's a reference towards that. But yeah, the trailers have all been good. But something very interesting was they never showed the original Ghostbusters in any of the marketing. None of the trailers, none of the TV spots. It was a little uh, glimpse of one of their hands on a telephone and their voice. That was about it. It was very, very limited references. And the film came out on the Friday, and like, all the talk shows, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, all them, Seth Meyers, all them talk shows, the three guys were guests on it, but they never showed any clips of them whatsoever. So it was kind of weird, the marketing for this movie. But like it was confirmed that they're in it, and they are in the movie as well. But yeah, but the trailer's not out. Looked pretty interesting. It's kind of like it wasn't a reboot, but it was bringing something new to it. And Jason Reitman was directing it, and his father had directed the original. The kind of plot for this this film is Ghostbusters Afterlife. When a single mom and her two kids arrive in a small town, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. Now, the grandfather is Harold Ramis, who passed away. His character Egon, of course, he's passed away, so he's not in the movie like in a physical form to star in it. When the other three Ghostbusters did appear in it, and some other characters that were in the original movies as well, which is a shame. But this film, someone who's not a diehard Ghostbusters fan, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It brought something new that the other movies didn't have, but it also stuck to what the other movies had as well. Jason Reitman as a director is very different from his father Ivan, two completely different directors, big time. And Jason brings something very unique to the first act and third act. Don't feel like a Ghostbusters movie, but they have like Ghostbusters equipment, or they have the ghosts, so they have it's a Ghostbusters movie, but it's not really a Ghostbusters movie in terms of Act One and Act Two when you compare it to the original movies, which I didn't mind whatsoever because it's done in a very pleasant way, unlike the 2016 version. And then when you go into the third act, it very much is a Ghostbusters movie. It very much feels like you're watching the original, and it doesn't have too many references to Ghostbusters 2 at all. It's mainly like a homage to Ghostbusters 1. Now, maybe if they have a Ghostbusters Afterlife 2, there will be more references to the second one, the sequel. But yeah, I thought Paul Rudd was fantastic in it. He plays like a teacher, a summer school teacher, and he's brilliant in everything. So he was a good addition to the cast. But I will say that in the third act he kind of goes missing because something happens. I think his absence could be felt when he wasn't in the third act for the big showdown, because he was in Act One and Act Two, and that's what I'm talking about. It felt like such a different movie for those two acts, but then the third act it's so different. But yeah, I had a good time with it. And someone who's not a diehard fan, I got emotional for the third act for something that they did, which I don't want to spoil. You have to go see it. It's just fantastic. And if you're not a Ghostbusters fan, I think you're going to really appreciate that moment big time, the way they did it. And it's a very heavy moment in the third act. But like we have these kids, the next generation, and McKenna Grace, who plays Phoebe, which is Egon, which is Harold Ramis' daughter in this movie. She's terrific. She carries the movie. She's in most of the movie. She's the one who discovers the original Ghostbusters, what they were, like the history of them, that her grandfather was a Ghostbusters. And she's a terrific actor, brilliant actor. She did such a fantastic job. And then the character that plays her brother Trevor, Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, he doesn't have much to do. And then there's another character, Podcast, which is part of the new Ghostbusters group as well. Like these characters are fine on the surface, but didn't have much to do. It was mostly McKenna Grace's character that had most of the heavy lifting to do. And she's in a few scenes with Paul Rudd, a few comedic scenes, and she kind of holds her own against Paul Rudd, which is fantastic considering the career that Paul Rudd has had. And then their mother, Carrie Coon, she was such a likable character, very funny, and she had a good chemistry with Paul Rudd, kind of a love interest dynamic going on there. So like everybody in the movie is fantastic. It's just that everybody was giving something awesome to do. And something I didn't really like, it felt like a bit of the movie was cut out or they never filmed it. It was kind of like the transition of learning the equipment that the Ghostbusters use, because the kids find it and then they can use it flawlessly. They know what buttons to press. They know how to capture a ghost, which is a little bit kind of odd. Like, can they not go through a process of trial and error where they learn how to use this equipment? But they never did that whatsoever, which I kind of felt like, oh, they took a bit out of this movie that would have been cool to see. And then the other side characters like Trevor, like Podcast, the other members of this new Ghostbusters group, they didn't have much to do. It felt like they had stuff cut out as well. Like there was no deepness to their character, no like massive character development. So they were kind of the flaws I had for the movie. But there's a sequence in the town where they're using the Ghostbusters car. I don't know the name, but they're going through the town, and that's done fantastically. And it's just they don't use the original like a Ghostbusters. Who are going to call a Ghostbusters song like for just a special feeling or anything. That's why Act One and Act Two was so different. And then when you go into the third act, it's huge. The special effects are huge, and there's this big kind of villain to beat. So look, overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie. Had some problems with it, but I think it's fun. It pays tribute to the original two movies, to the director, to the cast, to everyone involved with those two movies. But most importantly, what the 2016 one failed to do was it respected the fans. And the fans, look at the score, the audience score for Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's pretty high. And the critic score is pretty low. And then I was thinking to myself, why is this? And I started reading some of the reviews, and it said that too much of a tribute to the old movies. It's nostalgic. It's I'm missing the word right now, but it's they're trying to use that, or maybe you can know the word KC. They're trying to use like old things to get people excited for this movie now. Like, oh, remember this thing? Oh, now we're doing it again. Remember this thing? Or we're doing it again. Look at this. That was in the original. They did that a lot in this movie. But Ghostbusters fans have been waiting since 1988 for a Ghostbusters sequel. For years, they've wanted to see these characters return, and they had to look at one of the actors pass away, and then they thought, oh, this film is never, ever going to happen. And then the 2016 one is greenlit. Fans get excited, maybe, and they go check it out opening night, and they're just sitting there like, oh my God, what have they done to this beloved franchise? So when you have audiences who love this movie so much and critics don't, I think it tells a lot because the fans like what was in this movie, and Jason Reitman gave the fans exactly what they want. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, giving the audience what they want at all, especially in this case when they've waited over 30 years to see a sequel, not only a sequel, but a worthy sequel to the original too. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. You know, fan service is the word I was kind of using, looking for KC. There's a lot of fan service, but there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, considering what the fans have got to go through. So I don't understand critics whatsoever. And then they like the 2016 one, which in my opinion, is a shit on the fans, on the original actors, on the director, on the writers, on everybody involved with the original two. It's just absolute, just taking a shit on all of them, in my opinion, it really is. And I think this film is very emotional, it's very well made, and I'm actually looking forward to watching it again. I don't know if I'll go to theaters to watch it because there's so many movies coming out, just don't have the time. But the minute it hits PVOD, I'm definitely going to watch this one again.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I just had a lot of fun with it. And someone not a diehard fan, I was intrigued by the world that Jason Reitman was setting up. And actually, just today, he has signed a deal with Sony, and it didn't say specifically what films he will be doing. But considering the box office of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is about to cross 100 million, or will cross 100 million in the next few days domestically, yeah, we're getting a Ghostbusters universe for sure, which is awesome. And I do hope that the original Ghostbusters are in more of the sequels to be mentors or just have more screen time, because like it's great to have them still around and they can all act and they're all healthy. So use them as much as you can, in my opinion. But yeah, there's 2 post-credit scenes as well. First one's kind of just like a fun throwback scene, and the second one is it sets up the greater universe that hopefully will come. So yeah, I think definitely check out the first 2 KC or anyone else who haven't seen them, and then go check out Ghostbusters Afterlife because they're good films. There's nothing wrong with them whatsoever.
Yeah, at some point, I might have to check it out because obviously it's one of the well-known IPs in Hollywood. So yeah, if it's keeping on going, that's good for everybody. I always love it when franchises just keep going and make good movies. That's what more you can ask for, right? Like Harry Potter even is making its shows like now after all these years. I don't know what took them so long.
Yeah.
But every movie like this should have its own franchises, universes, or whatever, when this is the time to make the universes for these franchises, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I don't think Sony have a streaming service, but they could definitely make shows. I think what the most important thing to do for this movie was to play it safe in a way. It was about making a good movie, making some money, and pleasing the fans. And then after that, you can take some more risks with the story and the way you want to go forward with it. But it was just about playing it safe, getting this one right because you needed to. And I look at like Halloween as well, the 2018 one. Not my favorite Halloween movie. It's very safe, but it was important to play safe after the previous ones did so badly and were received badly.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to play it safe for the first movie. Then you can broaden your horizons and take a little bit more risks.
Yeah.
In the second one, because you've already got fans back on your side. So yeah, totally agree.